Right, ladies and gents, I want to do just a little bit of a disclaimer at the beginning of this video because it's going to be a little bit different, obviously, and you know, it's becoming a bit of a trend on the channel now when we're doing these DbD videos. Towards the latter end of this video, towards the part by the 50% point, around that point, it's going to switch to Identity 5 gameplay because I am vastly enjoying that game at the moment and I just want to play it, quite honestly. There's two reasons behind why I don't actually have much DbD gameplay in this particular episode, because obviously I've been playing a bit of Identity 5, I've got pretty addicted to it, to be fair, but also there was an EAC issue over the past couple of days that basically started kicking people out of games. Apparently this isn't Behaviour's issue, apparently this isn't DbD's issue, but it was an EAC issue. But even so, regardless, I haven't been able to play the fucking game, basically. So, time's run out now, because we've reached the weekend, obviously. I will be presently sweating my ass off behind a till when you're hearing this, so I'm not going to be at my PC. So obviously I can't record more games of DbD until Monday or Sunday night at this point. So, the DbD gameplay is going to be a little bit sparing in this one. The two games that I've got queued in for you are two Alien games, and quite honestly, fellas, they're quite shit quality. We have basically the first game is on Garden of Joy. We have a Nia who just decides it's Alien, I don't want to play against that, and then proceeds to run around the map, dropping every fucking pallet until I kill her, and I just let the rest of them out. The second match was more of the same little bitch simulator, where we play as Alien, and we have to basically, whenever we down people, we have to search the perimeter because there was people running around with flashbangs and torches and all that kind of shit. And we also had a conviction user in the lobby as well, so it wasn't exactly a fun time. It's a 4K though, so my complaints will go on. I don't have a right to complain, even though the gameplay itself's just a shit experience. But it is what it is at the end of the day. So there's two games of Alien coming your way, and then we'll switch over to Identity 5 in the later video. Even though, we're here to do the update, the quality of life stuff and all that, and you're probably just here to hear me rant again as usual. I recommend sticking around for the Identity 5 stuff though, because the game's actually quite fun. It is actually genuinely quite fun. I was pleasantly surprised by it. So, I've just brought this up bug fix 2, because obviously this has just been greeted on the start screen. 2v8 event returns on Tuesday, unfortunately. So, we're not going to be able to play the game basically. It's the mode that's glazed to high oblivion, even though it's only fun for about 2 fucking rounds. But, as I say, we'll announce as well, in this particular instance, just a little bit in the intro at the beginning, August 18th, the Monday prior to that, Carnival Hunt will return to the channel, which is another 4v1 ace, and that has an insane amount of high promise and all that kind of stuff. So we played it in the closed alpha, the previous test that was a couple of weeks back. And obviously now on Monday it's returning, which is beautiful because I have Monday to Friday off from work this week, ladies and gentlemen, so I will be playing that shit 24/7. So we'll have quite a bit of recordings to do. The recordings themselves will probably begin on the Tuesday though, because I'll be recording them on the Monday. So, we've got that to look forward to. But yeah, there's going to be quite a bit of Identity 5 content coming, and here and there we'll do DbD rants, I assume, whatever happens. We've got this video, and I've got another video queued up after this about the fucking gym situation, because I do think it is in bad taste. Everybody's taking it as the wholesome, funny meme shit, when literally what's happened is a developer has basically just normalised very shit game development by basically not playtesting the game so that there's a beam on your fucking offering screen, a very thing you can see if you boot into a first game, and they've turned it into a joke. They've given you a badge, there you go. It's funny, innit? We can do this again. We can do this again, as long as we make a badge. All that kind of shit. Resident party pooper here, speaking the genuine realisms, all that kind of shit. But, it is what it is. That's basically what it is. But everybody's going to see it as wholesome. Everybody's going to see it as, Behaviour are dead sweet, aren't they? They're owning up to the mistake and all this kind of shit when they're just taking the piss again. So, it is what it is. Anyway, we'll get onto the quality of life updates. See you there. Ladies and gentlemen, shall we review the upcoming quality of life updates for Dead by Daylight directly after we've been DDoSed live on stream? We threw this out. Here's what we're doing. Don't you worry. We're a competent dev. We're here to spread our massive amounts of knowledge about the video game we don't fucking touch, and we're going to tell you that we know what we're doing. So here we go. I haven't actually read what's on this. I've literally saw it. I saw it on the leaks page, and I thought, right, I'm going to do a video on this. I'm going to do the immediate reactions to everything and all that kind of stuff. I've got a couple of things I do want to say about this, and if you are a new viewer, as I always go through, you're going to get nothing but honesty here, and you're going to get somebody who's tired of this fucking bullshit and wants actual genuine change. And usually what we do is we deliver harder hitting commentary than most to try and corral the masses into recognising that they are having the piss taken out of them and you can have higher standards in games. Okay? So, jumping right into this. Phase 1. So I guess we're writing off the other phases that we had immediately. I'm assuming, right, we're back to phase 1 anyway. I don't know if we went through all the other phases. I don't know what's been going on with the game recently. As I say, it's just been, ever since they did Operation Health, they basically just did Operation Kill the Game. So we'll have to see what's going to happen here. Obviously, there's going to be gameplay over this, so you know I'm not going to read it off by heart and all this kind of stuff. I'm going to go through each piece of it, and you know there's going to be gameplay over it. Basically, we don't have a script. We don't do that kind of thing. I'll just ramble, and people seem to like it. So, phase 1, August to September. Okay, so this is literally the end of this month as well. The end of this month and the next month. This is what we're going to be doing. Action. Okay, lights, camera, action for this absolute circus. Add a third bug fix patch. Postpone PTB to early September, so we're getting that chapter late now, which, you know, isn't a bad thing necessarily, because it does mean we're actually going to be doing, well, I would like to believe that we're going to be doing something with this time that we're delaying the next release for. The focus, which I assume is what they are saying is going to be the one that they're going to be focusing on the most when they're doing this. Address issues introduced in the July mid-chapter, so this is The Walking Dead. So basically what I assume this is I wouldn't say 50%, because I like to, again, as much as I go on about it and as much as I talk shit about behaviour all the time, I like to believe, ladies and gentlemen, that maybe, just fucking maybe, at some point in this fucking timeline, they might get their asses in gear. You know, and we might start getting some balance patches and all that kind of stuff, rather than it just being a case of throwing, like, shitting into the palms of our hands, throwing it into a PTB, not paying any attention to what's going on with said PTB. That's when you're supposed to get your feedback and actually, you know, make the appropriate changes based on what your community does. But we don't do that. We just literally have this early access period that don't fucking do anything. And then, you know, they do the changes from there. And I genuinely want to believe that they would, you know. So we are apparently going to be addressing issues introduced in the July to mid-chapter between the end of August now and September. I assume this is probably going to be throughout the months with little bug fix patches and all that kind of shit here and there. Time will tell them whether they do that, or whether it's going to produce a bunch of more bugs and we're going to get another corporate apology and never change, because that's literally what this dev does. Extra polish time on upcoming original chapter, that's up in the air, to be fair. And I'm going to make a bit of a bold statement here when I say this, and obviously this, I'm not trying to downplay the developers here when I say this, but I am somebody who's very standards focused and wants to be wowed whilst playing the game, because I am paying for your product. Okay, you see how it's like a I scratch your back, now you scratch mine kind of thing, because generally back in the day, ladies and gentlemen, with this industry, that's usually how things used to work. But these days, these fuckers are saying everything you spend your money on, you don't actually own it. We decide when we take that content off you. So in that particular instance, whilst I've got that content that you have so graciously given to me after I've spent my hard-earned money on it, I want the fucking best out of it, yeah? Or I'm going to call you out for being complete fucking shit, right? So this is something that everybody needs to do, basically. Now, if for game devs to turn around and say shit like this, like fucking Ubisoft, the most out-of-touched fucking pigs that have ever graced this industry, yeah, to turn around and say to you that your money that you're earning by working a day-to-day job and all that kind of stuff, you don't own the product we're charging you money for, so you have no grounds to complain when it gets shut down and all that kind of stuff, yeah. So in that instance, you demand the best then. If you've only got that for a select amount of time, that kind of thing. Derailing a bit there, but it is what it is. So in terms of extra polish time on upcoming chapter, this was what I was getting at. Behaviour's idea of polish is basically, what's a good analogy for this? Walking through a field of cow shit and then basically just banging your feet on the bottom of the door frame as you come in, so not all of that shit's been knocked off, and then just throwing the shoes on the shoe rack anyway. Basically, that's basically what polish is with this particular developer. There's animation bugs all over the fucking game, despite PTBs, all this kind of shit. The animations themselves are very shit in a lot of situations. There's recycled animations as well. As I say, if you get a critical eye like myself, and obviously it does sound petty to some people, but this is what happens when you have the detriment, I should say, in this particular, well, using this particular conversation to explain this, where you've had your eyes opened by games like Evolve that didn't recycle animations. They had fucking unique, peak, high quality animations for every single monster in that game. Every single monster wasn't recycled. It was literally unique. We had all kinds of things going on, massive future, all that kind of stuff. And then you get to the top of the genre these days, where a Caribbean woman who uses a dog to hunt down her prey uses the same carry rig as Nemesis, a bioweapon that is, obviously, I don't know what the Resident Evil lore is, but a bioweapon, fucking 10-foot tall humanoid kind of shit, and she's there doing the same fucking thing. You can see it in the animations. They tweak them a little bit to make them different, but they're still using them as the base, Xenomorphs carry animation, recycled with Dracula, slightly recycled with Vecna, in a sense. Vecna was a bit more unique because he doesn't make contact with him, but there is the neck grabbing situation, and there is the neck grabbing situation with Springtrap as well. It's the same rig. It might not look the same because it's a different character, but it is the same thing. They're basically just taking that animation and modifying it slightly and slapping it on this other model. That's how they do these things. They didn't. A good example of how to recycle rigs, but also not, make it so it is actually unique, is Ghoul's pickup animation, because Ghoul's pickup animation is actually a recycle of Xenomorph's animation because they hold them in the same way, right? It's still the same motion on the survivor as they pick them up, but he does use his tentacle to do it, So there's uniqueness there. It's actually using something else on the character rather than just doing the same thing. Obviously, it's a long time back to give you a more prime example of it. It's a bit, obviously, I can forgive it being early on in development and all that kind of stuff, but they did actually go back, ladies and gentlemen, back in the day. This is going really far back now, and they gave Hillbilly his own carry animation. A lot of people might not know about this, but Hillbilly used to carry them the same as Trapper, where he basically loses his spine injury, basically, when he picks survivors up, because he'd go back straight and he'd have them over the shoulder, rather than the hunched over, sort of floppy one that he does now, where he's sort of leaning into his run like he actually moves, when he's not doing his chainsaw. So they do go back and they do add those things, but they do it so fucking rarely, and they do it so littlely that it never comes to the forefront when I see it. It doesn't make me have any kind of like ambition or happiness for the future of the game, because they do it so little. There are so many early killers in this game now that need so many animation reworks and all this kind of shit that it's got to the point now where the early game of the roster just looks like dog shit. Trapper, Wraith, Huntress is a good example. Female killer still uses the identical rig to Trapper, Wraith. There's probably another one, I can't think of them. I think there is another one that uses the same rig. But again, as I say, I'm not going through all fucking roster, going through all of it, but it is there. You can see it in the game. You can see it with your own eyes. So when they say extra polish time on an original chapter, I can only think of recycled animations. It doesn't fucking mean anything to me. Because we just get recycled shit constantly. What are you polishing? Obviously, it remains to be seen. It remains to be seen if it is actually a new killer that has its own animation sets and all this kind of shit, you know, and it's not recycled. I want to believe that would be the case, but we're seeing it time and time again, ladies and gentlemen, that they just don't fucking care. They've got no ambition, they've got no drive to do these things, and it's just the same dry shit every time, you know. But it is what it is anyway. And obviously, you know, the address issues introduced in the July mid-chapter, they need to literally they need to push the PTB back because nobody took any literally nobody paid attention to the PTB at all, which is another thing I touched on at the beginning of that there, where we have a PTB where usually that's like it's an open beta for the public to come in and test the new features that are coming to the game, you know, and a lot of these streamers that do put effort into actually giving feedback and all this kind of shit, they just get swept to the fucking side because this developer knows best. So if you do know best, why are you ignoring everybody that actually fucking plays the game and then making the same shit mistakes over and over again? It's almost like you don't actually know what you're doing, innit? But again, as I say, if you actually listen to your player base in the very same breath, we're here to help, you know? But the more you ignore everything that's going on in your player base, the more you fucking ignore PTBs, the more you push your biggest fucking content creators out the door under the guise that, oh, we know better, or we don't want to take your advice because we've got our own way of doing things, yeah? You're just pissing your fucking consumer base off, mate. That's it. You know? You're not doing anything that is good PR for you, mate. At all. Arrogant developers have lost games numerous times in the past, mate. Because again, obviously, as we go into the fucking capitalism side and all that kind of shit, there is a line here, ladies and gentlemen, that I just want to say on like the interwebs, basically, and something that a lot of people something that gamers should recognise here. And this isn't trying to push entitlement when I say this; it's just something that is actually something that I consider fact anyway, and it applies to a lot of these arrogant developers, right? That in this day and age, when you're being a consumer and you're purchasing a product, yeah, they work for us, we don't work for them, right? So if they want our money, they fucking work for it at the end of the day, you know? That's how it works. That is what commerce is. That is what the industry should be, you know? So when we go into the whole quality aspect and we go on about polishing things and all this kind of shit, it rubs me the wrong way because I know what this is basically just corporate bullshit. Again, it's gaslighting to the finest degree, because obviously certain players are going to look at this and they're going to be like, oh, extra polish for the upcoming original chapter. Now, you don't know what the original chapter is. You don't know what state it's in. You don't know what it looks like during this period where there's allegedly extra polishing going on, you know? You don't know what the fuck this is even doing, you know? It's just a sentence that generates good PR from certain people, you know? You don't know what's going on, you know? You've got no fucking idea what this extra polish actually is, you know? And they're pushing the PTB back to early September as well, so you can't even see this shit until the early September, you know? It's corporate bullshit, you know? I'm not saying it for no reason, that's what it is. We see this, I've been in this genre for 10 years, mate, right? I've seen my share of this shit. I know what it's done. I know how it goes now. I know what happens. I can see it in other games. Don't even have to be the ASIM genre, you know, where they push these roadmaps out and they're going on about how everything's going to be great, everything's going to be fine and dandy, you know, all this kind of shit. And then the game's fucking dead 2 weeks later because it's got like catastrophic bugs in it and all this kind of shit, you know. It's just, it all circles back, ladies and gentlemen, to what I always say: demand better, you know. Fucking hell. I know he's disgraced and everything, but, you know, going back to my childhood, back in the day, the Disney movies and all that kind of stuff, what did Kevin Spacey say? You know, those ants outnumbered us 100 to 1, you know? It's about maintaining a message or whatever the fuck he said. But it's the same thing, mate. Gamers on a whole, altogether, need to start demanding better, because there's been a gradual decline in quality across the fucking board, mate. We've got games, especially in this genre, obviously with Evolve, from 2015 that look like they could have been released today, 10 years later. We've fucking gone nowhere in 10 years. If anything, we've regressed. We've actually regressed in this genre. Anyway, there it is. So there's August and September covered, fellas. Phase 2, October to January. Action, postpone November chapter content to January. So, okay, we're not getting the licensed chapter that was coming in November. So that's coming in January now, 2 months later. Focus November release on bug fixing and winter event. I don't know what they mean by that, to be fair, because they're saying they're going to push it back to January, but then say they're going to focus the release on bug fixing and the winter event. So is the winter event getting pushed back as well? I don't know what really to say about that. So the focus of October to January is fixing of high priority impact killer issues. Oh, okay. So, killer issues, ladies and gentlemen. That remains to be seen, though, doesn't it? Because it depends what side of the fence killer issues is sat on, doesn't it? Because a killer issue, by terms of behaviour in this particular game, usually relates to problematic playstyles for all the fucking goldfish that play this game. You know? So, I doubt this is bug fixes of killer side problems. People vanishing as soon as they go behind a pixel of cover. They just completely lose the sound. Various other bug issues that I've seen. Obviously, I can't really list them on my brains in fucking knots anyway, but because it's quite late at night. But you know, that's what springs to mind. What I think as an example of what killer issues mean to me. But in general, killer issues in the past has been used as this fucking blanket term for problematic playstyles. So, it is what it is at the end of the day. The Shape gameplay update, right? Okay. So we're going to be reworking Mikey Myers. He's probably going to need... It's fine. I was going to say he's probably going to need consent to stalk, but it is what it is. We'll have to see how that goes. I thought they've only just recently reworked him, so I don't know why they're doing it again. But okay, we're getting a gameplay update, so can't really comment on that because I don't really know what the point is, to be honest. Because we have literally just reworked him. I think we updated him to make him have more stalk at a mid-range, I think it was. Or maybe, no, he gets more stalk the further away he is, which made him quite decent on 99 in tier 3, because you could get that shit pretty quickly from a big distance. So we're touching him again for some reason. Again, this kind of fills the blanket of clowns, whatever the fuck clown was, rework, buff, whatever, where they're touching killers that don't really need to be touched. I know Shape is on the lower side of, power and all that kind of shit, but they have just literally touched it, and this is what I'm talking about. Like, why are we doing it again? Why are we doing 2 killer reworks when Trapper exists, for example? Wraith is in a very shit state, have a look at them killers. Why are we doing the same killer again? It's about, priorities and things, fellas, because everybody's just going to interpret this as me being overly nitpicky as usual, but it's not. It's priorities. What are we doing? Why are we doing the same fucking killer twice, Because I played a bit of Shape when he did get reworked. I can't remember when it was. It was about 4 or 5 months ago, I think, now. And I thought he was alright, to be honest, based on his start distance. Now he was able to really get tier 3 quite easily. But yeah, so we're getting a gameplay update for Michael for some reason. And then, the Holy Trinity, ladies and gentlemen, the slugging, tunneling, and camping update. Yes, the restricting, decimating, and royally fucking our game update for the sake of Twitter-based survivors that can't fucking handle a PvP game. That's basically what this is, ladies and gentlemen. So by the time we get to, it's probably going to be around January, probably. Basically, mate, kiss goodbye to every M1 killer on the lobby, the roster. Essentially, that's basically what that means. So basically, get your fucking Trapper games, your Wraith games, your Ghostface games, your Pig games, your Huntress games, your Freddy games, your fucking Singularity games to a fucking extent, because he's an M1 killer. based on the advent of conviction as well, where you can't walk more than 2 feet away without them just picking themselves up for no fucking downside. Yeah, hyperbole, as I say, but, it's more of the same shit. It's just take away from the killer, buff survivors, same fucking shit. Wonder why it's only Black Nurse and Ghoul at the top. Rinse and repeat. Brain dead horse that we've beaten to death at this point. And then we go on to Phase 3, February and onwards. Action, quality of life focused March release. Okay. Again, that is the hyperbole for the same reason that extra polish time on upcoming original chapter is. We'll have to believe it when we see it, fellas. Because let me just... what weighs on top of all of this is, remember when they said this period of time where the game's gotten consistently shitter over and over and over again, back-to-back updates here where it's gotten really bad, kind of overshadowed the FNAF update that was supposed to be the biggest fucking chapter release, and it was very unique, all that kind of shit. That was bollocks, because that was just Dredge Huntress and Unknown slapped together. And the blanket of Operation Health was covering all of it, where Operation Health has done nothing but damage the health of the game. So, when they say quality of life focused March release, you want to take that with a grain of salt. The focus of which is fixing of high priority impact gameplay issues. So, we've got fixing of high priority impact gameplay issues, and we've also got fixing of high priority impact killer issues. So potentially, ladies and gentlemen, what I've just said is probably true. This is probably going to be killer issues from the depths of Twitter, essentially, because this does appear in the same category as slugging, tunneling and camping update. So I don't think this particular killer issues part of the phase of cleanup, so to speak, is going to be exactly about fixing killer bugs, is it? Fucking swear, man. I'm fucking... Mate, listen, I've been playing Identity 5 tonight, right? And it's a mobile port game of this, basically. And already, mate, I'm in love with it. It might be a mobile port. It might not have the animation flair that I like and all that kind of stuff. And it might not be the highest of detail and all that kind of shit and wowing in the graphics factor, mate. But I've enjoyed that game more tonight than I have done for the past 6 months of this fucking shit. So if this is yet another slugging, tunneling and camping cancellation or killer issues that only affect survivors, yeah, then I'm really getting fucking close to being done with it, fellas, because it's getting fucking stupid this now. Because the way it's listed as fixing of high priority impact killer issues, high priority impact gameplay issues, there isn't one that says survivor issues, is there? And obviously it could be that they are going to fix killer bugs. They are going to fix killer actual issues with the killer side of the gameplay. But I highly fucking doubt it, boys. Because again, it's listed in the same fucking category as slugging, tunneling and camping update. So time will tell, But yeah, as I say, again, it's all like, until it actually physically happens, fellas, you need to be aware that, again, this is coming directly after a DDoS attack. And it is leaning towards something that's trying to save face. Again, never raise your expectations or get excited over anything from this game anymore. And I know that sounds harsh, and I know it sounds fucking scary to some people, yeah, but that's what honesty is, right? And, listening to all your favourite big streamers constantly glazing this, I'll put money on it that there's probably some out there somewhere that have fucking seen this and been like, W behaviour, oh, this is what we need, boys. Look at this, a third bug fix patch. PTB is getting postponed early September while they address the issues from the Walking Dead chapter, and they're going to spend extra polish time on that unseen upcoming original chapter, all this kind of shit. And it's like, none of this shit is actually physical. You don't fucking see any of this. This is words posted by a developer that's in a shit position right now. Right? This could mean fucking anything. Okay? Yeah? So that's literally what situation we're in at the moment, yeah? I'm not saying if you are somebody who enjoys this game, you shouldn't be looking forward to the future on the off chance that this shit actually happens, because if it does happen, that is good. Yeah, that's actually a good thing. That's behaviour turning things around. But based on the past, based on how negligent this developer is, based on how fucking bone idle they are, based on how they don't take any kind of feedback whatsoever, and if they do find feedback that they don't agree with, they downplay it, they talk down to you, they ban you from the fucking subreddit. That's another thing they've been doing with the threads, not the actual people, but the actual threads themselves. They've been stamping them out about the DDoS stuff because they don't want to be seen to be very shit and negligent, which is what they are in this current era of behaviour's lifespan. So it is what it is at the end of the day. For me personally, all this shit that's on my screen right now as I'm reading it to you, it's all bollocks. All fucking bollocks until it actually happens, you know. So, you know, it remains to be seen, mate. But based on Operation Health, that has done nothing but just literally bend the game over and fuck it up the arse for the past, 3 months now. Is it 3-4 months, I think? I can't remember when they actually initially announced it. I think it's about 3 or 4 months. It was like the start of this. No, it's been going on for about a year now, hasn't it? I think. A year-ish. Just shy of a year, I think it is. Where they did one of these. They did a page like this. They said they were going to address everything. Here it is. Here's the phases. We're going to line it out to you. Look at the fucking state of the game. Here we are. We're sat here again. Here's your phases. Here's everything we're going to do. Here's everything that's going to be coming to the game. Oh, it sounds really good, doesn't it? Yeah. Time will tell on that one, fellas. So obviously February onwards, I think I just read that, didn't I? Yeah, gameplay issues. And then on the adjusted ETA, so this is things they've postponed because of obviously all the shit that's going on. MMR rework. I've said my piece on MMR before in a game that's as imbalanced as this, and also is being pushed as a party game, allegedly. MMR shouldn't exist at all. Everybody should just be thrown into the fucking queue together. If you get a killer that's better than you, suck it up, Buttercup. If you go against a 4-man, well, suck it up, Buttercup, again. And that's coming from me, yeah? Because at least then it would put everybody in the player base into one bucket. And then you wouldn't, unless it was obviously a 4-man Swift, you wouldn't be matched with that shit constantly. And obviously with the state the balance of this game is in, where once you actually get out of mid-MMR, realistically, 90% of the killers that aren't Blight Nurse or Ghoul are borderline fucking unplayable now. Because of all the second chance shit that's designed to carry both Twitter survivors and the newer players through shit situations and their own mistakes they do when they're throwing themselves at you in front of lockers to get locker stuns because my favourite content creator, my wholesome favourite content creator that bullies fresh installs did it, and I should be entitled to do it. But when I don't do it, I DC and ruin the game for the fucking 3 other people that are in the game, you know, that kind of stuff. But that's fine. Don't say anything about that. No, that's all fine. That's how you make a healthy gaming environment. You push for toxicity and you downplay everybody who tries to call it out. Because being toxically positive and both toxic at the same time in the physical sense is the definite way for a game to thrive, you know. I need to say that toxic positivity is the reason we now have a developer, ladies and gentlemen, that can't take criticism, and the reason why the game is in such a shit state, the reason why they're now implementing shit like Conviction, where they can just revive themselves off the ground within 6 seconds. Do you want to know why? Because every fucking top streamer at the top of the content creation for this game just fucking lets them get away with it. Nobody wants to say it's shit. Nobody wants to critique it because they've got fear that they will be perceived as this outcast, basically. Which is, the word is relevant there, it's not ironic. Because they're basically the only one in that instance. If a big content creator was to come out and say that, they would be the only one in that situation that is big, critiquing the game and saying it's shit. So they've got this fear that everybody's then going to turn on them and be like, "Oh fucking hell, you're just toxic. You're not adhering to the herd. You know, all this kind of shit." And it probably is a reality in terms of how jaded the fucking player base of this game is. The vast majority of them, anyway. There are some people who do demand standards. From what I've seen from the comment sections of my videos, it's quite enlightening, to be honest. I actually didn't think when I started doing these rant videos that I need a drink. You know, that people would accept my viewpoint, because obviously I'm very different from other streamers who play this game, because I'm here critiquing it and calling it shit, because it is. I was here in 2015 when we had a playable Hollywood blockbuster in the fucking ASIM genre, yeah? Fast forward to this, we run around in circles being chased by somebody who's got a high chance of having pasted animations that fucking slide along the floor, and there's zero atmosphere in it at all.
Oh, the game lost its atmosphere years ago. Wanting Dead by Daylight, a game that's advertised on the Steam store as a horror game, to be a horror game is just completely, it's hearsay, you know? Hearsay. Oh, it's just unjust. Oh, no. They fight back in the movies, Every time, whenever we're in the movies, and somebody goes down, the killer's there. Oh, look at the door in the background. Somebody comes speed hacking in and throws a fucking flashbang in front of their faces. Oh, I'm immersed while watching movies.
Fucking does my own, dude. It is what it is anyway, It's the general bastardisation of the horror. This game's been going on for ages anyway. When they turned if you don't know what the old Coldwind Farm was, fucking hell, mate. If you want to look at the old Coldwind Farm, just Google it. We literally went from a rustic, run-down, grungy farm setting that was actually at night to some basically TCM pandering bollocks around the time that the TCM game came out as well, which pretty much was a knee-jerk reaction to that as well with the farm rework. And turned it into this bright, sparkly fucking daytime map, and just decimated its identity, really, for me personally. The old look of the game was far better anyway. I've spoken my piece on that before. The old game was actually a horror game. It was dark, it was grungy, it was all this kind of stuff. And then they sort of, and I say this as somebody who played Killer back then, there was a lot of obviously there was the Blendette situation where Claudettes were just fucking invisible in grass. Because you can wear, obviously, it's got something to do with her skin tone, but she had a lot of dark cosmetics at the same time as well that would match the same colour of the grass and all that kind of stuff. And you can fucking hide in the grass because it was a lot thicker back then as well. The grass was more, I think the grass was like more PNGs, like pasted together, back in the day. But it looked better than the game does now, mate, where all the grass is thin. That was around the time as well that Trapper probably saw the last bit of power he's ever had, to be honest, as well, because that was around the time where his traps just became fucking useless across the board, because you could just see them. Then you could see them in the grass now, rather than it being an actual anxiety simulator to play against Trapper, which I preferred, where you could be walking through grass and you were wincing as you were walking through grass. Back in the old days, it was really good because you didn't know if you were going to hear the clack. It was like you were waiting for a jump scare, basically, at places where there was like pallets and all that kind of stuff where you were walking. And near loops and all that kind of stuff. The same thing with Hag as well. That was another decimation of horror when we had Hag who could put traps on the ground, and obviously she'd spark from the ground. She was a jump scare killer. She still kind of is, but they've given them both the ability on an M1 killer that moves at 110 move speed to shine the fucking traps off the ground with a flashlight, and also now the latest. You can fucking wipe that shit off the ground with your hands. They do it in the movies. Fucking hell. Wiping a killer's power off the ground with your fucking hand. Fucking hell, dude. It's absolutely fucking insane. And they try and justify this shit now these days. It's fucking amazing. Oh, she's oppressive because she can TP across the map. Oh, fucking hell, that's way too oppressive, that. I should be able to put titanium locks on lockers whenever Dredge is in the match, just so he permanently can't use them lockers. Fucking hell. But there you go, it is what it is. That's tangent thinking anyway. Next one's Prestige Rewards. We're still working on them, apparently. They're probably just going to be... I think, actually, they were briefly mentioned. There was a leak in terms of the Prestige Rewards, which was, again, rubbed me the wrong way because it was fucking laser. Now, I'm going to sit... Let me just have this... I've been sat here with a cup in my hand for ages because I just want to have a drink. 1 second. Quick sip. The Prestige Rewards that were leaked were, from what we could see, and obviously it's a leak, so it's not 100% here, don't take this as gospel, but they were leaked banners and icon borders, basically. That's basically what it was. Yeah. For reaching your max rank, your killer or prestige. There was no I don't think there was any. I can't remember when I actually read it. I don't think there was a prerequisite to when you actually unlock these. So I don't know when you'd actually get them in terms of what prestige you needed to be to get them. But yeah, it's just banners. No new skins. No new skins. Fuck it, you know. And the idea of it being this monumentous task to implement prestige skins, nah, it's not a valid argument, because there might be 40 odd killers in the game. There might be however many survivors there is. I think it's like 48, I think it is. 43 is Lara. So I think it's 48, 49 now. But if you're going to say that you're doing prestige skins and these skins look good and all that kind of stuff, just roll them out one by one. You know, everybody that's at P100, they get the skins when they get rolled out. You know, you can just add them to the game over time. You know, like the idea of defending this kind of thing where they say, "Oh, we should have prestige skins," or as somebody like me says, "Oh, we should have prestige skins and all that kind of stuff." Should. When you get into like P100, it takes like hours to do that shit. You know, like literally fucking hours. That's a time investment. Yeah. As long as obviously you're not just banking your blood points and then just feeding them directly into a character, you still spend that time getting that BP. You know, to earn this wherever you spend them across any character. You know, so you should get some kind of really good reward at P100 because that's the max prestige, is it not? You know, so why not have a skin? Why not have a version of that particular killer that's a legendary version of their base look? You know? A progression kind of thing, tie it to the lore. You know, Singularity looks more infected, the Unknown looks more mutated, you know, that kind of thing. Give them new animations in the game. You know, if we were actually a 2025 developer at the top of the fucking genre we were in, you know, put some fucking effort into it, you know, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, the argument everybody always says whenever you'd say something like that is, oh no, you can't do that because there's like 40 odd kills in the game. Yeah, I'm not sitting here expecting them to do it all as one. You know, one fucking big release of all these skins coming to the game. You roll that shit out one by one, you know? Do it with each one with a pass. But obviously don't fucking stick it in the pass. Behaviour probably would do that. Just put it in a fucking pack. Put it when the pass gets announced, the new battle pass, whatever it is, ship it with the pass. You know? Or whatever killer is the theme of that patch, they get their fucking prestige skin. You know, you could do it like that, and then over time you'd slowly get the new prestige skins into the game, and then once they're done, they're done. No, here's a border. Here's an icon. Fuck it, you know. You can just see P100 on the fucking end game screen anyway. So there you go. I've got a border and a banner now. I can show it that as well. It's fucking nothing for prestige of that. But as I say, it's leaks, so, you know, it is what it is. And then last one is perk preview in matches. I've spoke briefly on my opinions about this. There's a couple of people who think this is good. I'm on the fence with it because I can see obviously this does help solo queue survivors. It does actually help them in that regard. You can build your strategy around builds and all that kind of stuff, but what you need to realize with perk preview and all this kind of stuff is the elitist fucking wankers that exist in this game's player base and the type of player base it's getting shipped into. We already have people that DC in games because they're not going against the favorite fucking killer. If you see you boot into a lobby with perks that you just want to have fun with on survival, they'll just fucking DC and you'll never find a way into a lobby. You know, that kind of thing. So, and also it does actually spread to toxicity in the chat as well, because you get fucking name called and all kinds of shit in this game because they're all fucking immature. The ones that do it anyway. So, perk preview is, you know, it's not exactly great to do when you've got a player base as fucking wanky as this one. But you know, it is what it is at the end of the day. It's quality of life for solo queue. You don't really need this for Swift because Swift you just know what you're building. You can just tell each other what your builds are. But yeah, as I say, like I don't know. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, I think, per preview. But anyway, that's going to be the last thing. It says seasonal and special events will remain on schedule. So the winter event is going to be in December, but I don't know why they're saying they're focusing the November release around it. Unless they probably mean focusing the November release where it was, Instead, they're doing bug fixing and winter event. But yeah, there it is, fellas. Bit of a rant video again. Just thought I'd do that because people seem to like this kind of thing. So, you know, we'll keep doing it because YouTube's promoting me as well. So it is what it is. That's the thoughts on the upcoming quality of life updates, ladies and gentlemen, for Dead by Daylight in 2025. At the top of the genre, it is held back for 10 years. So we will wait with bated breath as to whether or not we actually see any kind of improvement, shall we? Because we're basically at the gates of Operation Health once again, you know, before everything went downhill. So we'll have to see. See you on the next one, fellas.